Hey there. So, we're back with the first game development tutorial of the season. We are the 3rd of October, and you'll have to excuse me. My kitty is here getting some love. Moved him in here for the fall and the winter, and he's just like super affectionate right now, so he'll be distracting me throughout this video. I hope you don't mind too much. But that being said, we're going to switch over to RGPtools, and what I'm going to cover today is setting up some camera and zoom in and zoom outs, so that we can establish some scene things. So what I've got going on here is this is the Cryptid Force game, and this is the level with the Will-O-the-Wisp. But what we want to do is we want to load a different level. We're going to load the Nixie level. Um, and what we're going to do is we are going to open, and we're going to come down here to Nixie's Forest, and we're going to open that one. Cool. I'm just going to zoom out to kind of show you, recap what we had set up with it. So basically, you come in from the Will-O-the-Wisp swamp, where you as Bigfoot collect Will-O-the-Wisp, and then you come into the area. You spawn right over here. Let me just turn on areas. You spawn right here, and then you come over and talk to Nixie, and she tells you to go get the spider across the way, and I kind of move the spider here. So what I'm going to do is go back onto objects. I'm going to take the spider now. Let me just put the spider down over there. Perfect. Okay. File, save. So now when we run this level, we're going to spawn in here, and you're just going to see the Bigfoot dude where the water changes from the creek into the swamp here, and where the grass grows up there. So we don't really know where we're supposed to go from here, and the way that I designed this level, it's not super obvious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually exit out of here, and I'm going to move this tree. And did I put any path on? I did. I blocked the river, but I didn't block the trees. Okay, so that's cool. So I won't worry too much about that. So what I'm going to do is go back to objects now. And what I want to do is filter for, I want to look through here, and I want to find, I don't know, like a podium or something, or nothing. How about just a simple sign with an arrow on it? Let's see if we can find a sign with an arrow on it. Old motel signs. Don't really want anything like that. I want something a little more rustic looking. So let's just keep going down. Could use, so we're going to be at that angle. We want to go up that way. So I think maybe I want something like that, but I want more of a rustic-y post. Not a, yeah, how about that one? Sure. It'd be nice to have a single arrow one, though, going, pointing in a certain direction. I think that's it. That's it for signs. So I'll take this back of this sign here, and I'm just going to place it right there so you can't miss it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to work in that area. Again, push the mouse wheel down and then you can move. No, you don't have to use the scroll bars. You can adjust the scroll bar size, though there is a GUI interface edit. So this sign's pretty little. So what I want to do is I think I want to scale it up a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm just going to go. That's good. That'll look pretty good, I think. Now it's going to be pretty obvious. Maybe I'll go one more. There we go. It's pretty big now. Pretty big sign. All right. Yeah, that looks good. You can't miss that. So then when you click on that, I can set up an interaction to give us a speech dialogue to say head up to see Nixie. Or what I can do is just use that as a marker. Don't make it clickable. And instead set up an area as a scale zone. And so that's what I want to do. So I'm going to come over here to areas. And I'm going to add an area. And I'm going to make it a rectangle. You can make it a circle. You can do whatever you want. But because this is going to be basically a zoom in, zoom out color, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to make it a blue. So I'm going to go with that shade of blue. I'm going to call it zoom 1. That's all I need to do. And then you can see down here that I've got enter logic and exit logic, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go enter logic, elements. I'm going to add an element, open up that element, and in settings, just widen this a little bit so you can see it says name there. I'm going to call this zoom 1. Okay, and I'm going to, you can set a delay in here so that it takes a little bit of a delay when you enter the area. And I'm going to just make that 0.25. Just a tiny bit of a delay. You don't need to add any delay. I'm going to turn on repeat so that every time you enter this area, it's going to do this action. Now you don't have to. If you want this to be a one and done, you can make it so that when you enter the area, it does the thing, and then on the exit, it leaves the thing. And you can set it to do a whole bunch of different options. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it repeat. So every time you go by it, it'll do the same function. Pretty simple stuff, right? And now this is, now there's a delay. You can put a delay in here before it repeats and does the thing. I'm not messing with the delay. I didn't find any reason to. I'm sure there's going to be lots of times where I'm going to want to find a reason to, but I don't right now. I'm not going to set any conditions. Don't need to set any. I just want it to happen when the player gets in there. But you could set it to be player faction only if you had wandering monsters near it or whatever. But I don't need to worry about it. And then actions. I'm going to add an action because that's what I want to do. I don't want to set a variable, so I'm going to change that. Now I have a whole list of things. So I'm going to come down here, and what I'm looking for is scale camera. So there's move camera, right? Move camera 2, and then you can set XY coordinates. Move camera to here. So you can move, if the player's somewhere other on the map, you could change focus. Now these ones with the move camera and stuff, move camera to here and stuff, they're really good for triggering events in conversations or in quests. So like if you wanted to change focus and like zoom to a specific spot and say, like with this sign, you could say, hey, I want it to move over and zoom in on Nixie, so you can see exactly where you need to go for Nixie, and it would be like the camera flies over, and then you could have the add another action, like a delay, then the camera zooms back. You could set all that up. There's lots of things you can use. But I'm just going to zoom out so you can see the whole map. So I'm just going to scale camera out. And what I want to do is I want to scale the camera out to 0.25. All right? So now we've got that. I'm leaving the duration alone because it's basically just going to do its thing. You could set that to 00. You could set that to like minutes, seconds, like you could have it run for X amount of time. There's lots of options there. I don't find I need to change this. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I don't need to add another action. But what I do want to do now is I want to add an edit logic. And so I'm going to add a new element to my edit logic. And element 1, open that up, settings, repeat, and we're going to call the zoom back. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this. I don't need a delay. I'll just leave it. As soon as you leave it, zooms back out. No conditions. I'm going to go back down to actions. That way you'll be able to see the quarter-second delay here compared to the no delay here. In fact, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this delay to 0.5 of a second so that it's actually noticeable rather than just a little bit of a delay. You'll actually notice it a little bit better. And this one will be 0 seconds so that there's no delay and you can see the difference between the two. No conditions need to be added. Action. Again, we want to come down here and we want to come down here to scale camera and to 1. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to zoom way out to a quarter, and we're going to zoom back in to 1. In fact, I'm going to zoom into a little more than 1 because I like it a little tighter than that. So 1.25, and then I'm zoomed in just that much more, a little bigger on the character. So I've got that set up. You can also do this when leaving a start area. You can add actions to the level start area so that you can be a certain size in gameplay. I actually like doing that because I like my characters a little bigger than on screen, just a little bit more popish. But anyway, so that takes care of that. So now I'm just going to go File, Save, and now I'm going to draw that right there. File, Save. And now what should happen is when you enter this box to read this sign, it'll zoom out so you basically get an eagle's eye view of the map so you can see where you're supposed to go. And when you leave the box, it'll zoom back in and zoom in just a little bit more. When you zoom in, there'll be a slight delay to make it kind of smoother. And when you leave the box, it's just going to pop you back out so that you can just keep rocking. So now we're going to give it a test run and you'll see what we did here. Just let him load up here. There we go. All my graphics, custom graphics and shells loaded. And now he's at a 1 size. So what we can do is we can come over here. Watch for the delay as I enter this box. There we go. And now we're zoomed out so we see the spider. So it's not exactly zoomed out far enough to see Nixie. So I'm just going to walk out past here. And see how it instantly zoomed back in? And now he's a little bit bigger. So you can actually see. And now in theory that should repeat if I got my settings right. Yep. Perfect. But I'm going to escape there because I'm not zoomed out far enough to see the whole map. So what I need to do is I need to go to Edit Zones, Zoom 1, and then in this Zoom 1 zone, what I want to do is on my Enter logic, on my elements, my Zoom, my Action, my Scale camera, instead of going 0.5, I'm going to go to 0.25. File, Save, Play. Okay. There we go. So 0.25 is a bit too small, but you could see, we could see the whole map. We see where Nixie is. So now if I just come over here, we're zoomed back in, and there's our happy Bigfoot fella. So, but we're going to fix that scale size because I think the 0.25 is a bit small. We're going to go to 0.35. File, save, play. Just a little smaller. But you can see I need to paint some more stuff in here to fill in that land. All right. So we're going to change it from 0.35 to 0.30. File, save, give it a test run. This should be just about the right size. There we go. That's about the right size. We can see Nixie up there. We know what's going on. We know where to go. Now we can wander up there. And now, of course, you could change the size on the, if you want it a little bit bigger on the screen too. So we'll just go, that size is right. So what we'll do is I'll just close that down. On the exit logic, on the zoom back, action, scale camera, 1.25. Why don't we bring that back up to 1.4? File, save, and then you'll be able to see a bigger difference in the zoom of the character. So here's the character at 1. Zoomed out. You can see everything nicely on our map. And there we are, zoomed back in a little bit bigger. So that's a good size on my screen. I like the character that size. Too much bigger and you'd actually get pixelated with the art that I'm using. But if you are using your own higher resolution art, then it doesn't really matter what you do, right? Anyway, that is what I wanted to show you today. So what we learned how to do was set up an area, adjust the camera to zoom in and zoom out to show you focus. There's other ways of switching the camera, and it's basically a way of changing the scale view of the camera in order to make your own effects, and also to focus on different game elements by doing the zoom in and zoom out, kind of like a mini map or a like an aerial view, eagle's eye view, or drone view or something, just so you can see the different things on the map in order to travel onto them. So you could set that up like with a lookout station, or there's all sorts of things you could use that for. And again, you could use the camera to actually move the camera over. So you could say zoom the camera in by 10 or 20%, then add other actions where you could actually move it over to a location, set a delay, add another action, move it back, and then zoom back out again. So you can get pretty complicated with what you want to accomplish here, but it's a great tool, and I just wanted to show you that so that you could use it for part of your storytelling tools. On that note, have a good day, and we will see you in the next one.